things we've covered. They got impacts on the culture, health and safety, on our quality of life. We haven't really talked about land values, but I can tell you from personal experience, I had a home in Leilani Estates, and I tried to get relocation. I was told that I couldn't get relocation because I didn't have a final on my house. And that was after I already changed my roof and my plumbing because I had lead in my water that they told me was coming from the volcano, leaching it out. So I spent a bunch of money. At that point, I decided I didn't want to spend any more money. I didn't think I was actually going to get relocation. So I had about $225,000 in my house. I sold it for $75,000 and I left. So it does impact land values, and it's going to continue to impact land values in a negative way, and I think that's something that we need to look at also. Let's see, so you know, are we getting a fair shake? And I kind of touched on this earlier, like it seems that the corporate profits and all these commissions and everything are what matters. And I think this really comes down to, this is about saving Helco. Helco's in trouble. People are pulling off the grid, you know, and it's not our job to save Helco. You know, we shouldn't have to Helco is a business, and if they can't operate that business and make a profit in a healthy, safe way, that's their problem, and we shouldn't have to bear that with what this is going on with this. And a lot of politics involved. We talked about, you know, the things that have happened with the Department of Health saying we're not telling the truth, and you know, not doing health studies, making us sue them for reinjection, making us sue them for air monitoring, and for health standards, air standards. So we've talked about all these things. Again, advisory panels, you know, you hear it because they give reports to you guys. You have one right now, the Energy Advisory, the County Energy Advisory Commission. I went there. It's all Helco. It's HEI. You got Steve Burns, Curtis Beck. You got all industry people, Mike Colacchini, another geothermal driller. There's nobody from us, you know, and we went and we wanted to ask some questions, like, because the mayor's guy was giving his presentation there about the Philippine trip, and I wanted to say, well, did you guys ask about accidents or you know, opposition? And they told me I couldn't ask any questions, just sit down and shut up, you know, and just listen. And they patted each other on the back, and they talked about how great it was and how clean it was. And all the concerns that we're raising here, not one of those were asked at any of these commissions or advisory panels. There's a real problem with that, and we're not getting a fair shake. And we're going to talk about economics a little bit, but the working group did an economic analysis. That was their mandate, and I looked at it, and all I can see in there is they compared oil to geothermal. They did not look at anything else. That was not the mandate.
Yeah.
So basically, we have geothermal at any cost is the way I'm seeing it now. And so in 1990, the community had Northwest Economic Associates through the Paley Defense Fund, and the Paley Defense Fund has been the savior for the community. The lawsuits, the studies, that's all came because of the Paley Defense Fund, and those are things that the government should have paid for. I think you should reimburse them. I think you owe them a couple $1 million. So anyway, this study came out at $4 billion for the cable in 1990. So I'm estimating, I think it's a pretty fair estimate, that to do a cable now is going to be easily $10 billion. For $10 billion, you can put a photovoltaic system, a $20,000 system on 500,000 houses. There's only just over that many houses in the whole state. For just the cost... just the cost of the cable, without the power plants or anything. And so to say that we don't have any other choice and the only thing that we can do is geothermal, it's just not a true statement. It's not true. And that's going to be paid for, and who's going to pay for that cable? The taxpayers. That's not economic. It's not economic. It takes 100 megawatts of power just to push the power through the cable to get it to a wall. I mean, you got 100 megawatts just to push it. So these are some of the other things that we should be looking at, and that's not a complete list, but and we're going to have a presentation on an alternative here right at the end of this thing.
Explain why it says no.
I don't know why it says no.
You forgot. You already said it. Look at it.
I forgot.
So they didn't look at it.
No.
They didn't.
It's because they didn't look at those.
Oh, you didn't look at these. I'm sorry. There it is. Thank you.
Oh, you didn't look.
Okay, so ultimately, our part here is we don't want to just say no geothermal. We're actually trying to build bridges here. We think that there's a better way, and so, this is torn the community apart, as you guys can see here, and part of that is because we're not being allowed to participate in that, and so we need to kind of change that.
This is what the community needs right now, today. A study of geothermal impacts upon Pele and the practitioners. We've held 3 community meetings in the last 2 months, and when we had a vote about what is the most important thing to this community, we had, out of 100 people, we had roughly 168 people. The highest important concern was for the Pele practitioners and native rights. The consensus is, if Pele practitioners are taken care of, we'll be okay too. We need an independent health study of the geothermal neighbors. Again, I'd like to ask that half the asset fund goes to that purpose.
Yeah.
We need Jerome 222 monitors. I have one sitting up here on the desk right now. This is the monitor that the Department of Health has sitting on the shelf. This is the monitors that PGV used to come out when we call to complain. The only difference is our monitor has a data logger on the back. PGV writes in pencil on their log sheets. This monitor will provide an alarm system. You can set it if you have an asthmatic child in your house. It'll read very low and very high amounts, and it'll run 24 hours a day. Even if we had good stationary monitoring, which we don't, by the time it hits a monitor, our community is already impacted. We have absolutely zero notification. We are gassed in our sleep. I've had this monitor picks up 620 parts per billion at my house an hour before PGV's monitor picked it up. These cost $13,000. If we used $1 million of the asset fund, we could get 76 monitors around the nearby communities, and we can share them, and this data can be logged into a centralized computer that we all have access to and have a robocall notification. We need that now. I would like you to do that. We need real-time access and online access to the Department of Health and PGV's monitors. PGV says they have an online site where we can look up what their monitors say. They give us a 5-minute average on 1 or 2 monitors. I want to know what happened last night when I was sleeping. We do not have any access. Again, we are gassed when we sleep, and in some days, we're not waking up. We need a relocation rule revision. Now everybody knows it's taken me 4 years to get relocated. The rule right now is only people that have had a permit before 1989. Well, that relocation fund has been amended to go to the community. I would like you to withdraw the community assets and take out the 1989 rule so people can get relocated today. There's families I am worried about. I'm glad I'm getting out. I'm not out yet. But there's families with children that live in Bud Breeze's house, the man who died in the low area, and there's an infant in there. There's elderly people in our neighborhood I worry about. Please, let them be relocated.
Aurora, that 3-mile relocation
Yes.
is important.
We would like to expand the relocation zone also. We need a workable evacuation plan. We don't have one.
Yeah.
And we need a proper protective buffer zone. I've worked with the county, and they've been willing to work with a buffer zone, but presently, the owner of the PGV site would not allow it, and we need a bigger buffer zone than 2,000 feet.
Yes.
10 miles.
lot more people in our neighborhood than there was when the blowout happened. We need help. Our people are getting sick, and we are not second-class citizens, and we're not going to stand for this anymore.
That's right.
So we're not just here to complain. We have some ideas on how we can deal with our energy situation. This is a chart from the state or HELCO or both. And what it says is that over 39% of the residential power, electrical power in the state of Hawaii is used to heat water. So that means that we can reduce the residential electrical use by 39%. I would say we could at least 20%. So I talked to one of the geothermal drillers, and he said, well, we tried that before, and nobody, people just didn't take advantage of the program. So my question to him was, so you're telling me it's easier to drill a geothermal well and build a geothermal power plant than it is to...
Excuse me, Bob. Tell them that you use solar water on their house, as you can say.
Solar water heaters, okay. So it's easier to build a power plant than a geothermal power plant and drill a well than to get people to put a program in place that will get people to put. I don't believe that. The problem that I think is that HELCO isn't going to make money. HELCO's going to lose money if we, and that's what this is about. And again, it's not our job to make money for HELCO. It's our job to find a better way to produce power, a cleaner way. We're going to build a geothermal power plant instead of off the shelf. I mean, for people that say solar doesn't work, when you have off the shelf technology right now that we're not using, that's a straw man argument. It's just not true. So we're going to show this film now, and this is what we. How do you start it? So this is University of Southern California, San Diego, and they produce 42 megawatts of power without any geothermal.
Need some sound on the video, please, staff. Jeff? Can we get some sound on the video, Jeff?
From Rocky Mountain Institute. In Reinventing Fire, we've described a scenario for the future of the U.S. electricity system, one that relies principally on local solutions. We've come here to the University of California at San Diego to study and document one of the best of class examples of a network that provides local control, yet is integrated with and interfaces with the larger grid itself. It's this kind of change that holds the potential for transformation of the electricity system toward its future state.
Energy is extremely important to UC San Diego. We're an extremely energy-intensive university, primarily because of all of our laboratories and our research and our hospitals.
The microgrid is essentially a single point of connection into the utility grid, and behind that is the entire campus, our 13 million square feet and 1,200 acres. And what it provides us with is low-cost, highly reliable electrical service to the buildings.
A microgrid-controlled system basically allows an orchestration of your generation, your storage, your load or your demand for energy, your transportation, and your imports.
As you can imagine, when you're doing cutting-edge technology and trying to integrate it into operational systems, you're going to have plenty of challenges. But, you learn through those, you go ahead and you push on through them.
We really see a great future in these optimized microgrids, and especially in control and communication. Once you have all of the data, you should be making intelligent decisions basically on a minute-by-minute, second-by-second basis.
The microgrid provides a level of control, provides savings to the campus, provides learning opportunities, and it also is highly functional in emergency situations.
On September 8th, 2011, There is a blackout that occurred between Arizona, Southern California, and northern Mexico. Our microgrid performed exceptionally well during that period of time.
So we can shed load in the buildings, we can go off our thermal energy storage tanks, so we don't use electricity for chilling the campus, and then we ramp up our own generation to take care of 100% of our load.
Renewable energy is one of our most favorite ways to approach adding to the resources we have on our microgrid. But renewable energy is intermittent and variable, and so it creates a greater challenge to bring this into the mix.
We are developing a cloud tracking technology that can track the clouds and predict on very short timescales and at a high spatial resolution and temporal resolution the power distribution on the ground.
That means they know now several minutes and up to days in advance how much sunlight we will have and how much of our total energy needs can be supplied from solar energy. We can be smarter about scheduling power plants and also about changing our behavior and planning that in advance.
To industry and to the government, UCSD is definitely a leader in energy usage and smart grid development, with its emphasis on bringing in multiple renewable technologies into the grid and integrating them and seeing what technologies work, what technologies don't work, will serve to inform grids of the future.
They can use us as a living laboratory to test and to optimize these technologies before they deploy them on a large-scale basis.
Our interest is to replicate this experience, and so it is seen and found in institutions, communities, campuses, military bases around the world.
Well, all of our decisions on energy projects really come down to financial and economic terms. And the investments we've historically made have all saved money.
The microgrid has saved the campus millions of dollars over the last several years, and most importantly, it's provided us with the direction to save even more in the future.
The response to the success of our microgrid in using renewable energy technologies has been universally embraced by our students, our faculty, our staff, and our alumni.
Energy is the key industry to focus on in terms of increasing global sustainability, helping to reduce effects of climate change, and provide benefits for humanity, because access to energy is definitely correlated with quality of life.
The control and operation of the electricity grid is a key enabler for using smaller, distributed technologies to solve our energy problems. RMI is seeking to identify and amplify the kinds of solutions that have the potential to transform the electricity system. We hope that you'll join us in that effort.
We're going to end it there. I really apologize to the council and everybody here. We went a half an hour over, and it's just really hard to squeeze all that in.
No need to apologize, Mr. Fishi. Thank you very good with this. We're going to take a 10-minute break. I want to tell you, I'm so sorry, we only have one restroom operating, so on to my left. Okay? We're going to take a 10-minute break.